Gentleman from Utah seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House suspend the rules and pass H.R. 6302, the Overtime Pay for Secret Service Agents Act of 2016.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar number 658, H.R. 6302, a bill to provide for an increase in premium pay for United States Secret Service agents performing protective services during 2016 and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Utah, Mr. Chaffetz, and the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Lynch, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Utah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous materials on the bill under consideration.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of my bill, H.R. 6302, the Overtime Pay for Secret Service Agents Act of 2016. The United States Secret Service has a zero-fail mission to protect the President and other protectees at all costs. The 2016 presidential campaign year was especially busy for the Secret Service. They've done an exceptional job. I'll give you some metrics of what this agency was dealing with. They staffed more than 2,500 candidate trips, 8,580 total protective travel stops, and 62 foreign travel trips with the President and the Vice President. The most recent presidential election saw Secret Service agents working record hours to fulfill their mission. Incredibly, this was accomplished despite the Secret Service suffering from historic levels of attrition and low staffing levels. In our December 2015 bipartisan report, the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform found that the Secret Service was, quote, experiencing a staffing crisis that threatens to jeopardize its critical mission, end quote. The Secret Service was at a peak staffing level of 7,024 employees in the year 2011. That number has declined every year until the beginning of this year when the agency had 6,289 employees. The staffing numbers are beginning to improve, now at 6,500. But the problem is the agency hopes to have between 8,000 and 9,000 employees by the next presidential election in 2020. It's hard and difficult to hire a Secret Service agent, and once they're hired, you can't simply put them out in front of the White House or next to a candidate or one of the protectees and expect them to simply flip on the switch and do their job. As a result, the current power shortage, the lack of employees, Secret Service agents had to work significant overtime to ensure around-the-clock protection of presidential candidates. No matter the number of hours worked, Secret Service agents are subject to a Title V statutory cap on their biweekly pay. As a result, agents were not compensated for overtime hours worked that would have resulted in compensation beyond the cap during any pay period. Within the Secret Service, this became known as a max-out problem. These so-called max-outs contribute to the agency's low morale and exacerbate attrition. The excessive overtime also negatively impacts protective efforts. The agency needs fresh and energetic agents to fulfill a critical mission, one that they have to be in tune at every moment while they're on the job. The bill, the Overtime Pay for Secret Service Agents Act of 2016, offers relief for agents who have not received pay due to the so-called max-out problem. Secret Service agents who worked on the 2016 presidential campaign would be eligible to receive compensation above normal levels up to the basic pay currently given to members of the executive schedule level 2 for the calendar year of 2016. Every Secret Service agent with outstanding overtime would receive an additional compensation for 2016 under this bill. This is not a bonus. This is not extra pay. This is simply trying to compensate them for hours that they worked. We heard story after story about Secret Service agents who would literally go weeks on end with no pay and yet continue to do their job. At the same time, the limitation of the 2016 presidential election in the bill presents a good balance and encourages Secret Service to fix its current staffing problems instead of relying on excessive and expensive overtime pay in the future. It is my expectation that the Secret Service meet its staffing goals by the next election cycle and does not have to rely on scheduling excessive overtime. It is also my expectation that the Secret Service will focus its staffing capital away from increasing non-essential investigative and cyber-related missions, which distract from the core mission of protecting the President and other protectees. These are There are currently 3 ongoing studies analyzing the Secret Service's non-essential mission of cyber investigation. And by the way, these non-protective mission usually takes more than half of their time. But certainly during a presidential election cycle, you can see the demand that was there. I'm very pleased in the bipartisan nature in which the committee came together to make sure that we're supporting the men and women who serve in the Secret Service. They have done so in a very admirable fashion. They provided a great service to the nation. But when you hear stories where people would go 43 days without a single day off, when they would work just literally 100+ hours in a week, and they would go to work knowing that they weren't going to be compensated for that work, that's inexcusable. This bill would provide the relief to them. Again, it's not a bonus, it's not extra pay, but it's some compensation for the work that they did protecting our nation and protecting those protectees. And by all accounts, they did an exceptional job without any major incident in this 2016 election cycle. So I would urge the passage of this bill. Again, I appreciate the bipartisan nature in which we're doing this. And with that, I'll reserve the balance of our time.
Gentleman reserved.